Hey guys, my name is Gus Kalathakis, and I've got 5 minutes to shift your perspective around intermittent fasting and intuitive eating to take next steps that I know can make a difference for you right away on your health and fitness journey. Okay? I've personally released over 50 pounds. I've transformed my body, I've transformed my mindset, and I'm going to share a couple of the tools and a couple of tips around those two topics that have made the biggest difference for me. Okay? Because as somebody who went through severe depression, anxiety, a back injury that needed surgery, I'm still dealing with 12 herniated discs in my, from my neck to my back. I've had to overcome a lot of things. And when you're on a journey that already feels overwhelming, like I know many of you are on, more information sometimes makes it even harder because there's so much noise in the market, so much noise in the media. How do we simplify things to take next steps? Because the key here is progress, not perfection, and accumulating a tool belt, right, of things that you can use to help you along the way in different seasons. So if we talk about intermittent fasting, there's two types of intermittent fasting that I've done. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my story and how I implemented them, and not so much the science behind that, because you can just Google benefits of intermittent fasting, of all the whys. That's going to be a side effect. You're going to benefit from that by implementing it in a way that works for you. Okay, and one way is to just intermittent fast each day, and another way is to just fast for whole days at a time, 1 or 2 days each week. Okay, some people like to combine both, but more importantly, when do I fast, right? The answer is whenever you want. There's no right or wrong. Fasting just means eliminating a certain amount of calories or certain foods for a period of time, okay? So one of my favorite things to do and how I got started was nutritional cleansing with isogenics. That's a daily, like a whole day fast for 1 or 2 days each week. And what that does is it doesn't mean just eat nothing, drink nothing. You gotta make sure you're hydrated, you're drinking enough water, and you wanna get some calories in your body. The fasting is restricting from the majority of calories for that day, okay? Isogenics made it really simple by creating Cleanse for Life and some snacks that make those calories more nutritious and supportive of what our body naturally does during that fasting time, right? So for me, what that did was it taught me a couple of things. One, that I can actually go a period of time without eating. I used to just munch all day and all night, and it took me months before I considered doing a nutritional cleanse or an all-day fast. And it changed my whole life when I realized that hunger is not an emergency. As long as I'm hydrated, as long as my body's nourished the rest of the week, I'm going to be okay, and I feel so much more amazing on the other side of it. So whether you're doing 1 or 2 days, you want to make sure that you're hydrated, okay, that you're getting those 300, 400, 500 calories, and that Cleanse for Life is a part of them. It makes a big difference for me. I've tried it with and without, and my life is different with. And a couple of other snacks, either from isogenics or, that you can get creative with that add up to those calories. So that's the simple way to do an all-day fast, 1 or 2 days each week. And how that helped me was it stopped the bleeding of my weight gain. It helped me get into maintenance and into a deficit easier, right, throughout the week, to keep my journey of fat burning and weight loss going, and then to stay into maintenance, especially during seasons where there were a lot of days that, just excess calories would come up. If I'm traveling, if it's holidays, if it's dinners out, incorporating that 1 or 2 days in the week, felt like a really great balance and reset for me. And I continue to do that and incorporate them, each month for myself. The other way to do intermittent fasting is just daily. And how I started that was I just found a time frame that I wanted to eat in, and I just didn't eat the rest of the time frame. We're intermittent fasting every single day by simply sleeping. Like, you're intermittent fasting for 6, 7, or 8 hours every single day. So if you extend the time that you start eating or cut the time shorter before you go to bed, you're already doing more and benefiting your body more with the benefits of intermittent fasting. Okay? I used to be super strict. Okay? I'll be honest, when I started, it was like noon to 8. That's what I read. That's what the internet said. So I'm going to start at noon. I would literally hold my shake, watch the clock, and wait till it hit 12, and then I would take my first sip or take my first bite if I was eating something on that day. You don't have to be that extreme. Okay, it was a great lesson for me because I get to talk about it now. But again, find a window that you can get enough food in and figure out if it's an earlier window or a later window. Everybody's body responds different. Your work, your stress, your daily activity all plays a factor in that. If you're somebody who eats dinner with your family, well, then you're going to wait a little later so that you can enjoy dinner as that maybe last meal. If you're somebody who goes to bed really early, you might be somebody who starts eating early and stops eating early. Okay? The most important thing is that you're hydrated during that window. I like to do my daily scoop of Cleanse for Life in that window when I'm doing a daily, and making sure that you're getting enough food, enough protein in that time that you're eating each day. And that's why having a shake or two each day makes a difference, because it's convenient. It's hard for me to eat that much in a shorter window of time. So having a shake or two makes a huge difference when I'm in that window of eating, okay? The dangers of fasting are not life-threatening by any means, but a lot of times people go too far with it. They focus too much on the scale, right? Trying to lose weight faster, and they think if I fast more, I'll lose weight faster, and that is not the goal here. The goal is to get the benefits of fasting, right, that happen internally, and to make it easier to be in a deficit throughout the week, but it doesn't mean restriction. It means make sure you're still getting enough fuel. This is an easier way to eliminate the excess that I've been eating, my whole life up to this point. That was just an easy tool for me to have and to still use. So I hope that helps, okay? And I hope if you're going to consider intermittent fasting, to consider, again, finding the tools to help you get enough food in the times that you are actually eating, which is the 5 days outside of the 2 you're fasting each week, or it's that time window if you're doing it daily. The second thing and it's more of a mindset, is intuitive eating. And I think I just want to explain this in a way that will help you become more mindful, because we're all intuitive eating. Like our whole lives we eat intuitively. Unless you're actually tracking your intuitive eating. And I've done both. And I think too many people make it this extreme thing because they don't want to track. They're like, people shouldn't have to track their food and this and that. But I've done both. And I can tell you that intuitive eating just simply means mindful eating, right? We're either mindfully eating or mindlessly eating, right? Or we're tracking or not tracking. And if we're not tracking, we need to be mindful. So if you're an intuitive eater, if you don't want to use an app like MyFitnessPal, or you don't want to write a food journal out, that's okay. But you need to be mindful of what you're putting in your body. So for me, mindfulness first started with, okay, where can I make the changes in what I'm eating without changing everything all at once? So replacing one meal with a shake was an easy start for me. Just being mindful of what am I eating for dinner each night? Like, what's my portion of this versus that? Or am I just picking all the things and mindlessly eating bread? Bread is not bad, but how much am I eating versus how much protein I have on my plate? Can I fill my plate with other things that are more filling, right? Can I be mindful, instead of having the dressing poured on freely, can I just put it in a cup and, dip it or pour it on more? Like, how can I be mindful if I'm going to be intuitive and not actually track things? Okay? That's the first step. To take it one step further, you do need to track something, okay? So if you don't want to track your food specifically, carbs, fats, and proteins, right, then we need to track something to make sure that what we're eating intuitively is actually creating progress, right? Maybe it is stepping on the scale. That's okay for some people. Some people have a really hard time with their mindset. They're obsessed with it, right? Maybe it's a pair of pants that you're trying to fit back into, or a shirt, or a dress, right? Maybe it's just taking progress photos each week and seeing how your body's changing, right? But we need to have some type of feedback on what we're doing. So intermittent fasting is a tool, right, to make it easier to eat in maintenance or deficit for some people, right? I know I feel better when I do it, especially a full day fast, 1 or 2 times a week, okay? And then if I'm going to be intuitive eating doesn't mean just mindless, like I don't have to care. It's I need to be mindful, right, if I don't want to track. And that's why having 2 shakes a day makes intuitive eating easier, because it takes the thinking out of 2 meals, so I can only focus on 1 or 2 other meals and a couple of snacks, right? And if 2 of those shakes are constant each day, then making adjustments to 1 or 2 meals becomes easier over time. I can be more flexible in those 2 meals. And that's why intuitive eating works when you have a system in place. That's why having intermittent fasting as a tool makes intuitive eating easier as well, because it's 2 less days I got to think about what I got to eat, or that many less hours I got to worry about eating, essentially. So it's more of a mindset and a perspective shift that made the difference. And I hope just considering that makes a difference for you guys as you become more mindful of what you're eating, and consider intermittent fasting and making sure that you're tracking something, because we always have to have something to tell us if what we're doing is right or wrong. People who are extreme intuitive eaters and tell you don't look at a scale and don't worry about this, it's about how you feel. That's wonderful. It's a great place to start, but you got to be mindful and you got to figure out, is what I'm doing working, right? And if you don't know the answer, have some support, get some accountability, try new things, but do them in simple steps. You don't have to do all of this at once. What's one simple shift that you can make right now, right? And it can be a time of eating, it can be adding a shake or 2, it could be just being mindful of 1 of my 3 meals each day, and what kind of result am I going to get this week from just making that one shift and then building on top of that. So I hope that helps. Here I am 12 years later, still doing the same stuff, the same shakes, incorporating it in different ways. And for those of you who know me, I know I love to travel. I love to eat out. I eat ice cream almost every day. My wife and I are foodies and we try all the different recipes, but having systems, tools like intermittent fasting, we like to track here and there. It just makes our life a lot easier. And the more we know, the more mindful we are, the more freedom we actually have in what we get to enjoy in our journey of health and wellness. So I love you all. I hope that helps. God bless you guys.